The stadium lights had barely dimmed over Dodger Stadium when the silence hit. Not the comfortable silence of a team heading to the locker room after a tough loss. Not the tired quiet of coaches reviewing film late into the night. This was a different kind of silence, the kind that settles over an organization when something has gone terribly wrong, and everyone in the room knows it, but no one wants to be the first to say it out loud. It was after the third consecutive game against the Angels. A rivalry that, on the surface, looked like just another interleague matchup on the schedule. But behind closed doors, inside the medical wing of Dodger Stadium, something had already shifted. By the time manager Dave Roberts walked to the podium at the post-game press conference, his face told the story before a single word left his mouth. He paused. He looked down. And then, in the kind of measured tone that every baseball reporter in that room immediately recognized as the calm before a storm, he made an announcement that nobody saw coming. A serious injury. A permanent ban from the starting lineup. And a 2026 season that, before it had even truly begun, was already being rewritten. At the podium, Roberts was unusually careful with his words. That in itself was a signal. A manager who has navigated World Series runs, playoff collapses, and the relentless pressure of playing in the largest baseball market in the country knows how to manage a press conference. He knows when to be open and when to be guarded. On this night, every answer was a wall. Every response was a door that opened slightly and then shut again. "We're not going to rush anything," Roberts said, gripping both sides of the podium. "The health of our players comes first. Always. We'll have more information in the coming days, but right now, I can tell you this is serious. It affects our plans going forward." Going forward. Those two words hung in the air of the press conference room like smoke. Reporters pressed further. "Is this a season-ending injury?" Roberts nodded slowly. "Is this player done for 2026? Another pause, the kind that lasts just long enough to confirm what everyone already feared. And then the word that changed everything: permanent. Not a day-to-day situation. Not a return timeline of 6 to 8 weeks. Permanent removal from the starting lineup for the 2026 season. The reporters went quiet. A few exchanged glances. Someone in the back of the room began typing furiously on a laptop. And Roberts, to his credit, stood there and absorbed every moment of it, because that is what managing the Los Angeles Dodgers in a high-stakes season demands. You absorb. You adapt. You move forward. But absorbing and adapting are two very different things. And the Dodgers, in the hours and days that followed, would be forced to do both simultaneously, at a speed that the organization had never quite experienced before. To understand the full weight of this announcement, it's important to step back and look at what this injury actually means for the Dodgers' construction heading into 2026. The Dodgers built their roster around a specific vision. A vision of depth, of versatility, of having answers before the questions are even asked. General Manager Brandon Gomes has spent the better part of 2 off-seasons carefully assembling pieces that fit together, not just on paper, but in the lived reality of a 162-game season where bodies break down, where momentum shifts, and where the difference between a championship and a first-round exit can come down to a single decision in a single at-bat in a single game. Losing a permanent starting lineup piece is not just a personnel problem. It is a structural problem. It is the baseball equivalent of pulling a load-bearing wall out of a building and hoping the ceiling holds. Sometimes it does. Often it doesn't. And the Dodgers, right now, are staring up at that ceiling and doing the math. The injury itself, according to sources close to the organization, had been developing quietly for weeks. The kind of injury that doesn't announce itself loudly at first, it whispers. A slight adjustment in mechanics here. A subtle change in output there. The training staff had been monitoring it. The coaching staff had been aware. But in the competitive pressure cooker of a game against a division rival, the whisper became a shout. And by the time it became undeniable, it was already too late for a short-term solution. Roberts, to his credit, did not pretend otherwise. He stood at that podium and told the truth. That is rarer than it sounds in professional sports, where the instinct to minimize and delay is always present. The fact that he made the announcement immediately after the third Angels game, rather than waiting for a more convenient news cycle, speaks to the culture the Dodgers have built around transparency, even when transparency is painful. But transparency alone doesn't fill a roster spot. And the Dodgers front office already knew what needed to happen next. Within 48 hours of Roberts' press conference, Brandon Gomes was on the phone. Not with agents representing big-name free agents. Not with rival GMs looking to exploit the Dodgers' sudden vulnerability. Gomes, who has developed a reputation in baseball circles for finding value where others overlook it, went to a place that many front offices would not have thought to look: Miami. The Marlins have spent the better part of the last 2 seasons in a rebuild. Their payroll is among the lowest in the league. Their roster is a collection of young, developing talent and veterans whose contracts have become inconvenient for an organization trying to cut costs and build from within. In any other context, the Marlins' closer would not have been available. But in the strange, shifting economics of a mid-season trade, inconvenient contracts become opportunities, if you're the right team calling at the right moment. Gomes was the right team. And he called at exactly the right moment. The deal, structured in a way that protected the Dodgers' long-term prospects while addressing an immediate need, brought the Marlins closer to Los Angeles at what multiple sources described as a remarkably low acquisition cost. The Marlins, eager to shed salary and accelerate their rebuild, accepted a package that prioritized financial flexibility over competitive return. Gomes gave up talent that was meaningful but not critical. The Marlins got the runway they needed. The Dodgers got a proven arm at the back of their bullpen. On the surface, it looks like a transaction. In reality, it is something more deliberate than that. It is a statement. A closer is not just a closer. In the modern era of baseball, the ninth-inning arm carries weight that extends far beyond statistics. He carries the weight of belief. When a team is losing a game in the 7th inning, they need to believe it can still be won. When they're protecting a lead in the 8th, they need to believe it can be held. And when the 9th inning arrives, when the crowd rises, when the pressure is at its absolute maximum, when every pitch feels like it decides not just the game but the season, they need to know, with complete certainty, that the man on the mound has done this before. The Marlins' closer has done this before. He has stood in exactly those moments, in stadiums far less forgiving than Miami's, and delivered. His numbers tell part of the story. His composure tells the rest. Dodger players, speaking privately after the trade was announced, expressed something that front offices always hope for but rarely manufacture: relief. Not just about having a solution to a problem, but about the specific solution that was chosen. The closed-door reaction to a trade is often the most honest measure of whether a front office truly understands its clubhouse. And in this case, Gomes understood it perfectly. Roberts, who had spent 2 days absorbing the weight of his press conference announcement, allowed himself something close to a smile when asked about the acquisition. "We're excited," he said. And this time, the words felt like an open door rather than a closed one. What separates great organizations from good ones is not talent. Every team in Major League Baseball has talent. What separates them is what they do when the talent gets hurt. The Dodgers, over the past decade, have built something that goes beyond any individual player. They have built a system, a philosophy, really, of anticipating disruption and responding to it without panic. Roberts is not a panicking manager. Gomes is not a panicking GM. And the players in that locker room, who have seen championship pressure up close, are not a panicking group. But they are also not naive. They know what this injury costs. They know what it means for the rotation, for the lineup, for the daily decisions that Roberts will now have to make differently than he had planned. They know that the schedule doesn't get easier and that the division doesn't slow down because one team is dealing with a crisis. What they also know, and this is the part that the outside world often misses in moments like this, is that adversity, properly handled, can become an accelerant. Teams that navigate crisis together build a kind of trust that comfortable seasons never produce. The moments that test an organization are also the moments that define it. The 2026 Dodgers are being defined right now, in real time, in the aftermath of a press conference that left everyone speechless. Roberts will have decisions to make. The lineup will need to be rebuilt around a new reality. Young players who expected to be depth pieces may find themselves in featured roles sooner than anyone anticipated. Veterans who were managing their workloads will now be asked to carry more weight. The closer acquired from Miami will be introduced, assessed, and integrated. The Dodger way, meticulous preparation, data-driven decision-making, relentless attention to detail, will be applied to making him feel not like a replacement, but like a piece that was always meant to be here. And Roberts will return to the podium. He will face questions about rotations and lineups and expectations. He will give careful, measured answers. He will absorb the pressure and redirect it into something productive. Because that is what he does. That is what the Dodgers do. The third Angels game will fade into the rearview mirror of a long season. The press conference that left everyone speechless will become a chapter in a larger story, one whose ending is not yet written. But the direction of that story is being shaped right now, in phone calls between general managers, in conversations in training rooms, in the quiet decisions that players make about how they will respond to a challenge that nobody expected. The Dodgers did not plan for this moment. But they are ready for it. And in baseball, as in life, readiness is everything.